Renekton. Even that game they lost, we saw him pull out the Yone, but you know, here we are going to get into picks and bans, and actually the first game of this best of 5 is a blind pick, so maybe gonna get some really spicy picks. Already both teams hovering some of the same champions.
Alright, well, I'm just kind of going through it now, and yeah, I realize the first game is a blind pick. I totally remember going through, like, earlier at the start of the competition and going, oh wait, actually. So, you know, that's the first game, and we're going to see some crazy stuff. I mean, I'm surprised we don't see any mirror matchups here. So, while we are going through our blind pick lyric, let's just kind of talk about what the meta's been, because we might see some double ups, we might not, but this means some of the priority picks, the top tier, the 100%ers are going to be let through.
Yeah, the Taliyah, the Olaf, the Graves, this is just how the, you know, how it's going to shake out.
I like the fact that top esports have just gone full top tier picks right now. We'll explain the drafts as we get into game. The blind pick starting off the quarterfinals, something that has eluded my mind, and you know, kind of just surprised me. So we'll get straight into game. FPX and top esports. Our quarterfinal begins here of Demacia Cup, and FPX are the team that need to really step up here with Xiaolaohu, his first ever tournament played, filling in for Nuguri. While down in the bottom side, we'll talk a little bit about top esports. Welcome to the Demacia Cup once again. Our quarterfinals are going to be legendary, a best of 5 that I'm hoping we can really get into. And note, we have our new top esports support here, Lyric. JackeyLove is playing with Jgl, previously WE Academy's support. So filling in for yuyanjia, a lot of people have high hopes for this player.
Yeah, he's one of the most highly touted supports coming from LDL. You know, some people throwing him as the best, definitely in the top 3. WE Academy not doing too well in LDL summer, but still, like you said, this guy has a lot of hype coming around him. Very big champion pool, and I'd say definitely a mechanical upgrade to yuyanjia, but you know, again, we're going to have to see how all of his time in LDL translates to playing with LPL caliber players.
And how he syncs up with JackeyLove, especially an important factor to note for top esports. Karsa going to be starting on red up in this top lane on his Graves. Quite a signature at this point is with the Shield of Duran down the bottom lane. Excuse me, Shield of Daybreak. Chris is going to start the trade here. We got a Leona versus Leona. We got Jhin versus Karsa. So the only mirror that we end up getting, surprisingly, is a support matchup.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting. You would expect the top esports spot lane to be able to get some pressure, especially once we have the full combos coming out at level 3. Karsa is going to have push on level 1, but it does look like it's going to be just about a neutral lane. I think the most interesting aspect of the map is going to be the mid jungle, right? Because we saw FPX sticking with this AP jungle AD mid lane combo. Renekton, of course, really strong in early laning phase, so he is going to have to pressure up against Knights Akali.
Well, level 2 hit first in this bottom lane. Chris goes in with the Zenith Blade. Actually, hasn't flashed away, but just moves away. Gets ignited down by Jgl, and top esports kind of fire back, hitting level 2 themselves. Lyric, I want to continue the conversation because even though this is a blind pick, you know, we have compositions we need to talk about. A lot more early scaling with Renekton and Taliyah here on the FPX side, but a side lane pressure point in Xiaolaohu's Camille. So walk me through a little bit.
Oh, just to hold 1 second, I want to see if Tian can find something, but of course spotted down by the ward. But when we talk about scaling, I feel like both teams are kind of close in different areas.
Alright, Karsa puts a smoke screen down and just smites away, nothing else. Continue forward.
Like, when you look at FPX's comp, you already hit on Renekton Taliyah, right? Really strong early burst combo. Of course, Taliyah's damage still scales quite well in the mid to late game, but you having that insurance policy with the Karsa and Camille. And on the opposite side, right, you have this more early game burst-oriented AD carry in Jhin, where you're going to have a lot of backline and side lane threat from that Akali.
I like the side lane threat. Trading here from Karsa as Doinb gets engaged on. His Renekton mid seen once again. And the engage threat from Akali, from Ornn, you know, Leona there. There is actually quite a lot of engage on the side of top esports. And the Jhin, as we've seen, that long-range potential that a lot of people are talking about through Worlds. As Jhin was S tier then. Jin's still S tier now with the item changes.
Yeah, and I actually really like what both teams have picked up, but I'd say I'm feeling more what FPX have put together. Again, they have a really nice front line in the Renekton and the Leona. You'd expect at a point Camille's going to be too hard to deal with in the side lane. The global pressure coming from Tian's ultimate, so you're going to be able to constantly look for picks in a side lane with Xiaolaohu and Tian.
But if Tian gets caught out, that's going to be another problem. Going in for the invade, early burst damage from Taliyah as Doinb has priority through mid, and Crisp has made the roam. That's the difference. Draws here too. 2 Leonas at the ready, but the health bar lesser so on the side of Knight, who's on this Akali. So it is going to be a successful steal. A bit of a camp lead from Tian, who then walks through mid to help get the shove.
Yep, and this is really how FPX have gone back to playing is Crisp and Tian, as I see. Pause.
Alright, Crisp was on his rotation down. Flash away from Joy. Respects the re-engage potential from Crisp, and that's what happens when you get the Leona versus Leona.
Yep, Leona finding a nice engage onto Leona, and then Leona reversing that engage, forcing Leona to flash. You always love to see it.
Love to see it. As JackeyLove down the bottom lane. Crisp, oh my god, he predicted the Zenith Blade. Predicts JackeyLove's flash, but underneath turret, I think the re-engage is enough to kill Lwx. First blood does go to FPX, but Draw trades back on the AD carry.
Yeah, both AD carries going down, so not going to be a massive advantage one way or the other. Now Crisp was going to try to force in that wave to get the bounce back for Lwx. Both AD carries actually going to pick up the serrated Dirk. Of course, Kaisa wanting to try and get that AD early on for the Q evolve, and Jhin just a standard build path making his way towards the Eclipse.
Watch this again. This is literally sex in a bottle. Wow.
Yeah, great play coming from Crisp. Does predict the flash, like you said again. We remember this guy in 2019 was the best support in the world, so the flashes of brilliance are still there. We'd love to see FPX bot lane get to that point where they were in 2019, and talking about that, this feels like a pretty decent meta for them because we look at Lwx, and when he was contending with a lot of the top 80 carries in LPL was 2019, where it was Kaisa and Xayah meta pretty much every game, and Kaisa is far and away the most picked 80 carry in this tournament. She has something like 34 games. The next picked 80 carry is at 12 with Samira. So, yeah, definitely a good pick if Lwx wants to show that 2019 form.
You know, I was looking at it a little bit earlier, Lyric, and like she's so far up there because she's been picked 32 out of 39, now 40 games. This is going to be game number 33. Kaisa is the S tier 80 carry right now, and with the build path we've seen, with the Gale Force option as well. You like calling it sprinting. I don't know if this was going to be punished, but Xiaolaohu, who has to flash away, call the Forge God over the wall. It was a bit of a 50-50 from 369, and unfortunately Xiaolaohu went left. So he escapes, but FPX want retribution in the top lane. That means the Weaver's Wall uses Karsa, just says, okay, bro, that's not long enough. He flashes away anyway after a bit of a stone's throw.
Yeah, still, they do get a summoner spell out from Karsa, so ends up being 2 summoners for 1. Xiaolaohu coming in with the TP. I don't expect him to be able to get Knight. He, of course, still has the Twilight Shroud, has his flash available, and his ultimate as well.
But let's see, Knight is going in, dodges away from the seismic shove, but it is secured by Doinb in the end, and a red buff versus Akali is going to be so annoying. So for FPX, using that aggression from the TP, securing more jungle camps, and furthering Tian's lead.
Yeah, and this is exactly how FPX have been playing this whole tournament, and it's what we were touching on earlier, so I'm kind of going back to the style, and it's something I think fans would really like to see, where obviously in 2020 we saw Doinb playing a lot of things like Orianna, them trying to fit him as the main carry of the team. It felt like he really needed to be with the form of a lot of the rest of the members, but clearly with this jungle meta, FPX have figured out, hey, we're just going to keep sticking to these AP junglers because you do have numerous options, and it's going to let Doinb thrive on these champions that he's always loved to pull out.
Yeah, going back to the style, you and I were having a great conversation about this yesterday, where FPX are just figuring out, I'll play what we've played in the past. Like, let's go back to what we know. And even without Nuga in the top lane, still, like, Doinb's Renekton mid. Tian on something that can synergize so well. Lwx and Crisp on the old faithful, right? Crisp was one of the best Leona and Threshers of 2019, so great to see him back on something that's so popular right now. But Lyric, it's 2 versus 4 in the bottom lane, and FPX are in some big doo-doo, as Lwx is going to take all the shots. Chris tries to save his life, but it's too late. He's out from the turret, dodges away from the final bullet, but it is still the curtain call from Karsa's angle, as Top Esports punish the bottom lane.
Yeah, and it's still nice to see Knight coming down with the roam when it seemed like Doinb was on a... can't tell if he was on a reset timing or hovering towards top side, but we don't typically see Top Esports make a lot of these plays around bot, especially, you know, during summer split at Worlds. They were always more top lane oriented. You can understand why they wouldn't necessarily be this game with the Ornn against Camille matchup. Just going to leave 369 on his island and picking up 2 kills, getting them onto both Knight, and I think the other one was picked up by Jgl. So Knight going to be able to start trying to find his footing in this matchup. And again, it's not about the 1v1 with the Renekton for the Akali. That's not something you win. It's about impacting the rest of your lanes. Again, a lot of squishy carries and side lanes. You can assassinate both the Kai'Sa or the Camille.
Kai'Sa, who isn't going to have too many resistances, as you can see so far. But meanwhile, FPX, this is a good push through mid. Chris shows himself with a Hex Flash. Tian puts the Herald down, and first turret blood going to be given over very, very early to FPX as Herald sweeps through that one, and the gold lead now in their court. Tian acting proactively here in the first 10 minutes of the game.
And other than their first game against OMG, I feel like Tian has had a pretty good tournament, right? And even when we look at that first game against OMG, it wasn't really just Tian. A lot of the standout moments to me actually came from Doinb, where FPX flopped a few Drake setups, but then they finally kind of understood, right? We remember him trying to Weaver's Wall off the enemy team and secure that Drake. And then there was sole point where FPX were going to secure. Doinb goes in a bit too early, gets blown up, and it allows OMG to take the fight. So I definitely feel like Tian hasn't really been the thing like holding FPX back this tournament, and I think that'll be good news for the FPX fans.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When his wrist issue is very publicly known, when his injuries have been affecting his gameplay, as many people have talked about. To see Tian with a strong performance in this tournament might give hope for the LPL 2021 spring split. Across the board, let's just take note of where the game state is, because Infernal was the start off here for top esports. Next Dragon in Ocean coming up in 3 minutes time, but it is the first items that are going to be most impactful here. Gore Drinker on the Renekton, who's at 106 CS at 11 minutes into the game, with the only other item picked up, well, absolutely nothing. I mean, we've got Thornmail on Ornn, Bammy Cinder building, Kindle Gem with the Sheen for the potential of Divine Sundra. The top lane in Xiaolaohu is Call the Forge God going to be used by 369. This is always a gem to watch as the Ornn starts beating out the Camille fighter.
Yeah, and I'd like to see FPX start playing more around their top lane. We talked about the Weaver's Wall in the pick potential that they have, instead just leaving Xiaolaohu on an island. I guess as a team option, it makes sense when he isn't going to be your starting top laner for the split, maybe wanting to try and figure out synergy with the rest of the map.
Let's hold that thought though, because Weaver's Wall's been placed down. That Solar Flare perfectly landing, but the cleanse has been burning. Flashes over the wall, and JackeyLove manages to get out alive before the threaded volley takes him down. So a couple of ultis burned there for FPX, but the summoner from the AD carry, both actually going to be taken away.
Yeah, but no objectives on the bottom side of the map. I guess they could potentially send Doinb back mid, catch this wave, push in the next, and look to put some more pressure on that bot side turret, but ultimately not going to lead to too much. Of course, Jhin not having his flash is massive, especially when you are facing the likes of a Renekton, a Leona, and a Taliyah, so yeah, we just got to see FPX be able to punish that in the next few minutes.
But I want to point out, if we do see another engage, if we do see pressure on JackeyLove, note that he does have the Eclipse, and Lyric, you and I were looking at this last night. Ornn is on the same team, so Eclipse becomes Syzygy, which is just the weirdest name in existence. I can't wait to see that Ornn upgrade come through. There is also that added scaling element, right? If we do look at the 5v5s, we look at Akali's entrance into these fights as the game goes on, it does feel like, the added extra engage and the scaling potential on top esports has a certain strength to it. Maybe we can talk more about that.
I would say the way the comps play out, though, it actually doesn't feel too great to be the Akali, right? Because Akali's great against, immobile, squishy carries. So you're automatically taking Renekton and Leona off that list. Kai'Sa having, not the easiest way, but can at least maneuver around the fight, right? With her ultimate, Camille as well. Very easy to maneuver around fights. You're obviously going to get, some health, some resistances in your item build because you are a bruiser. So that pretty much only leaves Tian ripe for Knight's picking. So I'd say the way these team fights will end up fighting out should slightly favor FPX, but like we talked about with the Renekton, we need to see FPX get a bit more done early on.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense when we talk about the compositions in depth, right? As flash forward here, reverse flash, it's Lwx running away, but the Soul Flare tags him down, deadly flourish. The curtain call, baby, that's all it takes. As JackeyLove decides it's time to kill Lwx, and FPX decide it's time to get the hell out of there. 14 minutes in, and Doinb's in an awkward position. Knight has cornered him down. JackeyLove still has a deadly flourish, but they don't want that. They only need the push, because Top Esports have found this fight right in front of Dragon.
Yep, and it's just going to lead to that objective. Xiaolaohu not even going to risk TPing down for this one. Just going to get some turret damage on the top side. 369 already making his way there. And TES just kind of making their way towards that soul point. Of course, they need next Drake. We need to see, is it going to be a Clown Soul or is it going to be a Mountain? A Mountain Soul would feel extremely well having this on Leona. But, yep, better luck next time, lads.
Well, that's okay. Look, at the very least, for FPX, losing that trade, losing the objective. JackeyLove, we're seeing stars in his eyes there for a second. FPX managed to get another turret. Now, they found first turret blood. They've gotten the topside turret as well for this Camille, who now has Trinity Force. So there is actually a lot more gold on FPX right now. We should be seeing that first item coming across for Lwx2, where FPX across the board should be lined up nicely for the potential of next Herald, for the potential of another one of these fights in about 4 minutes.
Yep, and with Herald coming up now, we already see TS on the top side of the map, so I'm wondering if FPX will just give that one up outright. Of course, Doinb does have TP if they do want to fight for that. And an interesting thing to note is the fact that Knight has gone for the Night Harvester. It's not something we see on Akali too often. Of course, the two typical mythics you see is either Riftmaker, of course, for that Omnivamp. It also gives you more damage the longer you are in combat. Or the other thing is the Rocket Bell, which, of course, just gives you easier access to the backline carries that you want to burst. Riftmaker's a lot more about, like, the movement speed you get. You're able to get a bit of a burst of damage once you hit targets, and the cooldown is on each enemy champion, so you can proc it, you know, on everyone. But yeah, I'd say a bit of a weird choice. I think I would have preferred to see something maybe like the Riftmaker come out, because when we talked about champions like Renekton and Camille, it feels like a lot of these team fights can, you know, take a lot of time to go on before one team can start picking up some kills.
Yeah, very, very true. I think the Riftmaker as well. The Omnivamp that it gives right now is just so great. Also want to point out that, you know, while we are getting the first items across the board for pretty much everyone, support's still lacking behind a little bit. It is a Bammy Cinder 4 draws, so expected to see maybe the Turbo Chem Tank. We've seen it a lot on the Alistars in this tournament, but we'll wait and see what the reality is. Is Lwx going to get fired upon? And this firing range ain't pretty, because one more shot that eventually misses. The Solar Flare also does as well. That wasn't great from Crisp, but now the full-on engage, and the Solar Flare from Dwarf is perfect, as it's just knock-up after knock-up. It's a double kill. Doinb's late to the party. Can Gordrinker show us how OP it really is? Xiaolaohu finds his way in, as it is a spin-to-win kind of situation. Doinb heals up, but not enough. Top Esports take them one by one, and FPX go to their death as Knight reaches through. FPX have been obliterated.
Yep, and Top Esports extremely decisive, going for that engage. Again, unfortunate that Doinb wasn't there, Xiaolaohu not in the fight as well. And the only unfortunate thing for Top Esports is there's nothing on the map for you to take. Had it been 3 more minutes, this would lead to something like a Baron or another Dragon. But let's see how this one starts off. We do see Jhin opening the curtain call, setting up for Jgl to walk forward. Of course, pretty much all of Top Esports is here other than Knight. We do see the Leona ultimates come out, Call of the Forge God. JackeyLove just positioning perfectly to deal the max amount of DPS. Doinb does TP in, and you think, maybe with his ultimate, with the Gore Drinker, he can get something done. But Top Esports just have too much lockdown. They are able to stun him, root him, and then finish off the kill.
He's a Renekton who wasn't amongst enough members, and everyone, you know, core damage threat down from FPX. If Lwx is dead, then what else can you do? Same with Tian in this early part of the game, so it does feel like Top Esports are managing to eke out these windows quite easily, and have now caught back up in gold. 18 minutes into the game, gold is pretty much even, and Top Esports are the team heading towards Soul Point. In a minute, we get that third dragon on the board, and the cooldown reduction for these ultis as well is going to be a huge impact as Top Esports go throughout this game.
Yep, and we do see Top Esports dropping the Rift Herald in mid, but looks like that's not going to be able to turn into anything. With Dragon coming up in 40 seconds, let's take a look at items once again. I think the most interesting thing is that we see Karsa going for the Immortal Shield Bow. Of course, I think we've seen most Graves this tournament go for the Gale Force. LS calls this the Negan build, from The Walking Dead. You're getting a ton of lifesteal in here. We might see maybe an early Bloodthirster come in second or third item. And again, with that shield, with the lifesteal that you get, it really just feels like Graves is that true bruiser once he gets into the thick of the fight.
A big reason why he's the most played jungler. Taliyah and Graves right now really dominating the Demacia Cup. And that's why in this Game 1 blind pick, it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about, the priority picks that we'll see in the rest of this series. Remember, best of 5, and this is the only game that I know of that's going to be blind pick. Kind of interesting we see blind pick in quarterfinals, but I'll move past that because it is Cloud Soul time. Excuse me, Cloud Dragon that leads to Soul, and FPX are going to engage, but it's secured by the Jhin, of all people. So Top Esports now on Soul Point, and call the Fort God, even though it misses, you can see they want to follow this up. Lwx is so low as he ticks down, and Chris doing the same. Top Esports are chasing this lyric, and Knight, full energy, full HP, is hungry as hell. Doinb the same, but the Crocodile can't sink his teeth in. As in the backline, Xiaolaohu gets the engage onto JackeyLove. He's by himself. The Trinity Force, Camille, though, not strong enough, as Knight's doing the dirty work. Sacrifices his own life, and Doinb can't even follow this one up. It's Top Esports again, who are styling on FPX.
Yeah, great fight coming out from them, and it started off a bit wacky with neither team really getting full prio for the Drake. Of course, Top Esports do clutch it out with JackeyLove, I think hitting the 4th shot on it, and then just having a great angle to find the engage onto the members of FPX should lead to them picking up the spot lane turret as well. And now we're in a position with Top Esports on Soul Point, so FPX really are feeling kind of that clock. And also, Top Esports going to be easily to start looking for potentially baiting Barons, and you have great turn potential with this Jhin and Leona. But of course, we are going to have the replay. Jhin does secure that Drake. We see a lot of the ultimates come out. 369, unfortunately, not able to hit that Call of the Forge God. Though, nice ultimate coming out from the Jhin. And the members of FPX were just so low, they just really weren't able to turn and take that fight.
The Jin's doing so much damage. I mean, JackeyLove with Eclipse. This is the power of this item for the Jhin. Also, the Serrated Dirt, Cloak of Agility there. Getting buffed up to high hill. So, JackeyLove bullets out of the curtain call right now do so much damage. As Top Esports going to re-engage this. It's the start of yet another fight. Great engage from Twor, who lands absolutely everything. The new support coming up trumps as Top Esports get 2 more picks in the bottom lane. And with Baron up and available, we go again.
And again, just massive mistake coming out from FPX bot lane. They're catching that wave a bit too far forward. They should just wait for it to crash into turret. We saw where the rest of the members of FPX were on the map, Doinb catching bot lane and Tian shadowing for him. This does lead to the Baron for TS. Doesn't even look like FPX are going to look for any kind of cheeky steal. They are just going to wait this one out, but I don't necessarily feel like the game's going to get any easier for them with their upcoming item spikes.
Definitely isn't. You've only got 1 item, especially on FPX as well, and the fact that they're getting punished this hard in this point of the game, with Baron now on Top Esports, it looks so difficult to mount a comeback. We've got 2 items on the Akali for Knight here. Lichbane picked up second, and he's been holding on to the Seeker's Armor Guard all game, plus a stopwatch in hand, so there's a big bounty for a reason, while Collector's been picked up second, so JackeyLove has that 5% execute. Also note that Thornmail on 369, so speaking a lot about the second items, for the side of Top Esports, where we do have a Ravenous on Xiaolaohu on the Camille, but Black Cleaver for Doinb. Apart from that, we're not praising too much of FPX getting stronger at this point. As once again,
Crisp.
It looks like, yeah, Draw has found Crisp, and everything has been on point. And while it is Leona versus Leona, it does feel like the better Leona is winning.
But I just feel like Crisp has no reason to be there. We look at where Lwx is on the map. He's actually sitting under the outer turret in mid lane. Crisp walking forward. Looks like he was looking to place down a bit more vision. Now it's just going to lead to Top Esports picking up 2 turrets in the mid lane.
4 versus 5 for about 10 more seconds. The Baron buff doing its work. Sidewaves pushing in as well. Look at bottom lane, Lyric. Top Esports can always transition as Curtain Call would call the Forge God onto Lwx. Watch the bullets fly again. Collateral damage and Knight. That's overkill, brother. Let him die peacefully. As Top Esports still have that numbers advantage considering Crisp has just come up. over the wall. The perfect execution from Knight to get that follow-up, but it's Inhibitor anyway. Top Esports are controlling everything. Weaver's wall zones off, though, but the re-engage gap flows over the wall. That's what they're waiting for. As the Ornn comes in once again for the Searing Charge. Draw survives to zone out, and Xiaolaohu is the one to die. Knight's over the wall onto Tian, and he's just a pain in the ass. A two-man Searing Charge from 369. The fight was already over, but Top Esports have done everything in their power. Knight gets the Shuriken flip, but chooses not to go through. Top Esports choose to go back, and they choose to take the Cloud Soul coming up in 30 seconds.
Yeah, a bit strange. I honestly feel like they could have closed out the game with 369 and Karsa being a bit low, maybe not wanting to take a chance and give FPX a few luxury kills. But they're going to get those backs off. Drake is up in 15 seconds. FPX aren't really going to be able to do anything about that. And realistically, this game does feel done and dusted. I feel like a few things to note that really show that is, I mean, JackeyLove's on 3 items to where Lwx still hasn't finished his second one. Jgl was so ahead, he didn't even go for the Locket build that we typically see on the Leona. He did just go straight up for the Sunfire Aegis earlier on because he does just have that much more gold. And now TES are going to pick up the Cloud Soul. And, I mean, if they want to play this a bit more methodically, right, they can maybe send Knight up top lane once he has TP and the other members down bot. But realistically, I feel like you just funnel in mid, you look for the ARAM, and you should win it.
FPX are off on the side. They've tried to find a flank, but I think they get collapsible. Call the Fort God used in a choke, and this was a noble last attempt. But Top Esports have cornered FPX, drawn them apart. And like the 1600s, the limbs have gone flying in different directions. Left with Xiaolaohu, even he will die to the syzygy now built on JackeyLove. Top Esports are heading to the base to make this game 1 look easy.
Yeah, just great play coming out from Top Esports. Love seeing JackeyLove in this form. It's very reminiscent of the World's group stage where he was just an absolute god. And TS going to pick up the first win of the day.
Yes, they are. So I didn't even get a chance to talk about the Ornn items. It was so quickly over. Prep thrown in the bin, but not for Top Esports, who with their new support are looking on point.
Yeah, great form coming out from their bot lane. Again, JackeyLove playing a phenomenal...
You know, on the back of Xiaolaohu, it felt like this game was off the back of, as you mentioned, Crisp making some mistakes, even after a sick flash engage in the bottom lane. Yep. You know, Lwx being out of position, the team not coordinating, some of the issues we saw in 2020 summer.
I do want to say that, like, when Nuguri does come in, I don't necessarily feel like he's going to fix FPX's issues. He could potentially be a bit of a band-aid. Of course, there are things like...